Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Fans, it's a great day to be a Dodger, especially considering the Dodgers have started out 6-0 for the first time since 1981. Fernando Mania, wow, what a year that was. I can remember it like it was absolutely yesterday. And the thing about this team is, in my opinion, there is an even better version out there to be had, which is a very scary thing to think that the Dodgers are 6-0. They're beating teams like the Braves 6-1, making it look easy. And I think they can get maybe even substantially better. That will remain to be seen, but that's just kind of the way that I take things, and I'm going to get into some of my numbers to back some of that up. We're going to get into all the action. Before we do, I wanted to remind you, our Down the Farm segment today, I'm super excited about it. We're going to do this at the beginning of every year. We're going to explain to you, even if you're a Los Angeles Dodgers fan and you don't follow the minor league system at all, we're going to explain to you why it would be worth your time to at least tune into the Down the Farm segments. Make yourself familiar with the prospects on the farm, how the farm system works, the reasons why you should do that, why it's important. Then we're going to take you through each level and explain to you exactly how the minor league levels with every organization, but specifically with our Dodgers, work. So by the time you finish this show, you're going to know all about yesterday's Los Angeles Dodgers game, a good analysis of all the action and the breakdown of it, and then you're going to know exactly how the minor league system in the Dodgers system works and why is it important and why it is important and why you should follow it and stay tuned with it. So I made the statement, big statement, the Dodgers are 6-0 for the first time since 1981, but I think there's a better version of them out there. Well, how about this? As a team, the Dodgers are hitting just .234 for a batting average, and they are just 14th in on-base percentage. So this has been a team that has hit home runs, okay, and they've struck out. They're tied with the Braves, the team they're playing right now, for the third most amount of strikeouts of any team in the league. They're hitting just .234, and their on-base percentage is right in the middle of the pack at 14th. So all of those numbers suggest the Dodgers can do substantially better than that in terms of the consistency of executing offense. Okay, but what they've done is that they have hit a ton of home runs and they've walked a lot. So they've drawn the second most amount of walks of any team in the major leagues, and they've hit the second most home runs. So this has been the Dodgers team of home runs, walks, and strikeouts. We've seen that before. That's not honestly a trend that I can say I particularly like. I think, if you watch this show at all, that's not a formula of offense that I'm in favor of because I don't think that helps you win games on the margins. So the fifth inning yesterday, the three base hits, the back-to-back, not back-to-back-to-backs, but the three base hits from Hernandez, Will Smith, and Tommy Edman, especially two of those after two were out. I loved seeing that because I think we saw last year that if you can win games on the margins when you're not hitting home runs, I think that could easily be upwards to 10 games a year extra that you win. And then I think being able to do that kind of thing, we saw it in the postseason. That helps you beat teams like the Mets. That helps you beat teams like the Yankees. The Dodgers out-executed the Yankees, no doubt about it. So although 6-0, you cannot argue with that whatsoever. The Dodgers have scored the second most amount of runs of any team in the major leagues. You cannot argue with that. I would say, though, from an execution perspective, I think there's a better version of this Dodgers team out there. I think we saw it at many times last year. I think it led to the World Series championship. So just think about how scary that is, that the Dodgers are beating teams like the Braves 6-1. They're 6-0 and really not even clicking on all cylinders offensively. They're hitting a lot of home runs and walking a lot. That's good, but I would definitely say not hitting on all cylinders. As far as the pitching goes, Dodgers pitchers lead all the major leagues in strikeouts at 73. Philadelphia is the next closest, and they only have 52. So the Dodgers have 21 more strikeouts than any other team in the major leagues, which, if you've noticed, the Dodgers pitchers have had to work around a lot of traffic, especially guys like Alex Vesia. But because of the strikeouts, they've been able to work out of a lot of those jams. And because of that, they have done a good job of being fifth in the major leagues in ERA, which, hey, I think, again, fifth in it's not bad. That's not a bad statistic. But I think with this staff the Dodgers have, there is a better version of the even being fifth in the major leagues. I think the Dodgers are good enough to be first in the major leagues in ERA. So they're fifth in ERA, and then you look at seventh, an average against. I think the Dodgers can do better there. And 11th in whip. I think they can do substantially better than that. That walks and hits per innings just goes to show you the Dodgers pitchers have worked around traffic, but because they can strike hitters out, they're able to get out of that traffic. So just like the hitting, I think there's a better version of the pitching staff as well. So that's kind of my take on the season so far. Very nitpicky, very much so, no doubt about it. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. But that's kind of where I'm at on that topic. So hey, I wanted to bring up, if you have not gone to my social medias, go to X or Facebook or Instagram. Take you a minute. Listen to the commentary on Tommy Edman. Tommy Edman's talked about, Joe Davis was talking about Tommy Edman and his batting practice approach. And I mentioned the other day how Dalton Rushing was working on that opposite field gap in batting practice and how that helped him hit that home run the other night. Tommy Edman takes it a step further. He tries to hit low line drives to the opposite field. We call it, hey, hit a line drive over the shortstop's head. That's what we'll tell kids all the time. Hit a line drive for a lefty. Hit a line drive over the shortstop's head. For a right-hander, hit a line drive over the second baseman's head. And so I thought it was really cool that Joe Davis got into that commentary. Tommy Edman, who is a young man who executes the game of baseball very well, there's the approach right there. And that is, to me, a forever formula in the game of baseball. So I thought that was a really neat interaction. I also thought it was neat whenever they were talking about Mookie Betts' chefs. And Joe Davis pointed out that's plural, not just one chef, that's multiple chefs. And Oral mentioned, well, back in my day, we traded baseballs for Dodgers dogs, and we had to figure out which concession stand sold the best ones. And we found those. That was just absolutely classic audio. I've got that clip as well as the Tommy Edman clip on all my social medias. It was great to see Teo Hernandez knock a home run last night. Obviously, the results of a home run speak for themselves. That's fantastic because, hey, very, very small sample size, but Teo's gotten off to somewhat of a slow start. So to see that home run is obviously great, but to me, it was the process piece. If you go back and look at that home run, again, I got it on my social media, then you'll see he hit it to absolute dead center. So what's the big deal of that? When hitters hit the ball straight back up the middle and they hit it hard, that tells you from a timing perspective, their timing is absolutely perfect. That tells you their bat path on that runway is absolutely matching up with their timing perfectly. And so that's kind of like, it reminds me, and I mentioned this in my post on social media, it reminds me of a shooter that maybe has missed a couple of shots, and then they take a jump shot and they swish it, and they're like, oh, snap, that's it right there. That's exactly how it feels. That's what a hit up the middle feels like. A base hit, whatever it may be, if you're hitting it hard up the middle, that's the feel of it. Now, if it's a home run that you hit as hard as Teo Hernandez did, that's really the, oh, snap, yeah, that's it type of eureka feeling at that moment. And so no surprise whatsoever, I even mentioned it on my social media post, those are the types of process-based at-bats that get you into a good rhythm. And so there was no surprise that Teo Hernandez got a base hit the very next at-bat, as far as the next at-bat in the game after hitting his home run. A lot of times you see a guy yank a home run to the pull side, swing up at it, hit it a mile, you go, oh, he's going to strike out next time. Exact opposite effect for Teo for hitting the ball to dead center with that home run. Great to have Kike back. Kike, his average doesn't look good, never does in the regular season, but I'll say this, he hit the ball hard 3 times last night. His hit last night was 107.4. I say hit, it was actually a home run. Both Hernandez's hit a home run. That was awesome. His home run was at 107.4, and he also hit 105.7 mile-an-hour ground ball and a 95.8 hit as well. He also put the ball in play at 95.8 miles per hour. Anything over 95 miles per hour, 95 or above, is considered hard contact. At least it is to me. I mean, I'm sure you could ask a million different people. Maybe you would get different answers. I think it would be pretty universal that 95 and over is hard contact. So it was great to see Kike hit the ball hard 3 times last night. Alex Vesia, he has been the model of working around traffic. And I'll note this about him. He's ditched his changeup. It's just the fastball slider. And what I like about that is it's kind of like a football offense. You can either run a whole bunch of plays in just a very few amount of formations, or you can run just a few amount of plays in a bunch of formations. So you can either give it eye candy just to run a couple of few, like the air raid. It looks complicated, but it's actually only about 4 or 5 different concepts, but it's ran through like a million different personnel sets, a million different formations. So the window dressing of it is different every time you run it. It's like the counter play when you pull the guard and tackle. It's the same counter play, but you're going to maybe have a tight end once, a fullback once. You might be even in 10 personnel once, which is one running back, no tight end. So you just make it look different to get to the same play. So you can either have a lot of formations to window dress a few plays, or you can have a lot of plays and therefore have very few formations, because very few human beings on earth can have a lot of plays and a lot of formations and have to think that much and then also be able to execute. So I say that all to say, just throwing his fastball and slider, to me, that's an execution focus over stuff that simplified things enough to where instead of having a huge mix, now he can window dress it a little bit better. He can set hitters up a little bit better. And then also, because he's only throwing 2 pitches, as he's setting hitters up and window dressing them, he's executing better because the pitch mix has been simplified. So instead of throwing extra pitches, just throw the pitches that you have with better execution. And I think that's exactly what Alex Vesia has done. One reason why he's been very successful. Jack Dreyer is very proud of him last night. It was like a eureka moment for me because he walked the first guy, very atypical, not what Jack Dreyer usually does. And the next thing I hear is, now batting for the Braves, Marcell Ozuna. And I'm like, oh snap, the Maytag is actually in the major leagues. I mean, that was like my eureka moment, like, oh, this is Jack Dreyer in the major leagues. Let's see what you got. Well, how about this? He retires the next 3 hitters very easily, and the very impressive part of that is that he threw like 7 or 8 breaking balls, and only one of them. Matter of fact, he threw 5 breaking balls, to be exact. After he walked the leadoff guy on, Marcell Ozuna's up. He got the next 3 hitters, threw 5 breaking balls, only landed 1 of them. So why do I say that? That goes to show you, although the fastball was only 91 last night, that goes to show you just how effective that fastball is because of the spin rate, and then also because of the way he deceives hitters by the way he hides the ball. You go and watch him pitch, and he hides the ball very, very, very well. So we've talked about all the different parts of last night's game. Let's get to the bread and butter, and that is Tyler Glasnow. 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 8 strikeouts, 3 walks. I mean, in that first inning, Joe Davis said he was electric, and by gosh, he was absolutely electric. I mean, talk about setting the tone. Michael Harris just didn't have a chance, and Michael Harris is not off to a good start this year. That's his problem. So 4-seam 95, 2-seam 98, and then that bomb that he dropped with that curveball for strike 3 to Michael Harris, first hitter of the game. I mean, it's like if you're in the Braves dugout, you're just going, oh, crap, man. We're in for a long night if he pitches like that. Then he blew away Austin Riley. He started bumping up the velo, 98 miles an hour, perfectly delivered to the low and outside corner. And then threw 3 different pitches to Olsen, and and just really just looked very dominant in that first inning. Just kind of claimed his dominance over the mound, claimed his dominance over the night, a dominance that never went away. So, I mean, when he throws like that, hitters have no chance. I mean, you're not even mad when you go back to the dugout. His spin rate touched almost 2,700. I mean, I don't even know what that means. Spin rate almost 2,700. I mean, it's like 2,300 is the cutoff. You're almost 400 RPMs above the cutoff of what's good. I mean, like if you're a hitter, you're like, okay, and he's 7.5 foot extension, and then he's dropping bombs with his curveball. And then if you watch the last two pitches, I got on my social media, the last two pitches he threw, the slider backed up by the curveball. I mean, it was like, okay. I mean, you're not, it's like I said, you just walk off mumbling to yourself like, what did I just see? I mean, I can't hit that. No human being can hit that. And we know that's the upside of Tyler Glasnow. Consistency and health. Just got to stay healthy. Hopefully he's healthy. Hopefully his new, more athletic delivery and the workload the Dodgers can put on him will help with that. His spin rate averaged 2,500. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous. His four seam was also in the zone 64%. Why is that big? I have said that 60 to 65% range is a sweet spot, and that's because you're throwing enough strikes to be effective, but you're not throwing so many strikes that hitters can sit on it and sit dead red and ambush your fastball. So, I mean, you don't want to throw like 95% strikes because then you become too hittable. So that's 60 to 65% range. I've mentioned it several different times. That is absolutely a sweet spot. Tyler Glasnow is at 64% last night, and so that pitch was very good. And then his curveball was the second most pitched. So just like the Bobby Miller outing, he featured the fastball and the curveball. And you talk about explosive. Curveball had a 70% whiff rate on it last night, and only one curveball that Tyler Glasnow threw last night was put into play. That was impressive. And again, go to my social media, check out the last two pitches that he threw in his outing. The slider backed up by the curveball, just absolutely insane. So, hey, a great win last night, 6-1 for the Dodgers. The Dodgers, again, off to a 6-0 start for the first time since 1981. So, hey, now, again, going to remind you, we are going to go all through our minor league system in the Dodgers system. We're going to explain to you why it's important that you follow the minor leagues, why you know about it. Even if all you care about is wins and losses with Los Angeles, why should you care about the minor league system? Why does it matter? We're going to explain that, and then we're going to go through each level and explain each level to you. So by the time you finish or down the farm, you will know why the minor leagues are important, and you'll know everything you need to know about the structure of the different levels in the minor league system for the Dodgers. So with that, let's not waste more time. Let's get right to it, and let's take a trip down the farm. Why should you pay attention to the minor leagues? Well, for one, because the minor leagues is the lifeblood of winning. Let's say that you don't know anything about the minor leagues and all you care about is the Dodgers winning World Series. Totally understandable. I get it. Why should you pay attention to the minor leagues? Well, for one, because the minor leagues is the lifeblood of winning. Hey, do you like Will Smith? The Dodgers just re-signed him. Pretty darn good, right? You remember that team with Cody Bellinger? Do you like Walker Buehler? All those guys. Jock Peterson, you remember the World Series the Dodgers won in 2020? Gavin Lux? All those guys. Clayton Kershaw. If you like those guys, guess where they were developed? They were developed in the Dodgers system, which is the best, in my opinion, developmental and scouting system in baseball. So the first reason why, if you don't pay attention to the minor leagues, that you probably should start, in my opinion, is because it's like in college, the recruiting is your lifeblood. The minor league system is the lifeblood of your system. So if you like signing a Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Tyler Glasnow and Teoscar Hernandez, if you like having the ability to be able to sign those guys, then you really need to root for your farm system to continue to produce because they are very cheap. Will Smith was very, very cheap. for a long period of time, and he even gave him the hometown discount. That frees up the cash and the space to be able to go get a Shohei Ohtani and do those kinds of things. So for number one, you need to root for cheap contracts, which prospects give you, with production behind that, like a James Outman type situation. Number two is, we also saw in the Tyler Glasnow deal, trust me, when Johnny DeLuca came up last year and showed that he can hit major league pitching, and when Ryan Pepiot showed that he made his adjustments and was the Dodgers' best pitcher down the stretch last year, guess what that netted the Dodgers? That is correct. It netted them Tyler Glasnow. That's because the minor league system developed Ryan Pepiot and Johnny DeLuca to the point to where a very intelligent system like the Tampa Bay Devil Rays liked those two guys enough to give up a guy like Tyler Glasnow, and then the Dodgers got their cake and they ate it too whenever he signed to the 5-year extension. So again, let me recap that. The two reasons why you would want to follow the Dodgers minor league system: one is you need cheap contracts on your major league roster. Those cheap contracts are provided by prospects you developed in the system, hopefully like an Andy Pages and guys like that in the future, a Bobby Miller, somebody like that. And two, they give you the trade pieces you need. So what we're going to do in today's show, going to start from the bottom up. Now, I say it all the time, the Dodgers Daily family here, we are the best crowd out there, so I'm sure for a lot of you, this is going to be a lot of redundancy. But for others, I felt like it was very important to explain the minor league system, how it works for everybody, but especially in the Dodgers system, explain each level, where they're at, where they're located, and who's coaching and all that. So whenever I talk about all these down the farm segments, you can have this kind of as your Bible to go back to and say, okay, well, what is he talking about there? What did that mean? You can go back to this segment here and this show here and this episode, and you can go back and make it all make sense. So whenever we get into the regular season, it can make more sense to you. So today's show is going to be dedicated to explaining the minor league system, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's not waste any more time. Let's take a trip down the farm. So let's actually start with the international players. This is the one that people know probably the least about. Now, in the past, there have been independent leagues like the Venezuelan League and all of that, but all of those leagues went away, and now there's only one league for the international prospects. So if you get signed, you have to go to the Dominican Republic and you play in the Dominican Summer League. They call it the DSL. So if you hear me say in the DSL, that means Dominican Summer League. That is an international prospect from anywhere. It does not mean they have to be from the Dominican. The Dodgers, they love signing people. You know, hey, Guillermo Zuniga, who just threw for the Cardinals the other day, who was in the Dodgers system, he's actually from Colombia, Cartagena, Colombia. And then the Dodgers, hey, they've signed catchers like 4 or 5 years in a row, Diego Cartaya being one of them, Yainer Hernandez, Jesus Calise, Jorge Puerta, who were from Venezuela. So just because it says Dominican Summer League does not mean it's only Dominican Republic players. It's players from all of the international areas, Panama, Colombia, Dominican Republic, all of them come together for the Dominican Summer League. It's about a 3 or 4 month league. If you want to know more about it, Manelik Pimentel, who I had on 2 or 3 months ago, he explained how the Dominican Summer League actually works. So what happens is when you're in those international areas, when you're 12 or 13, the scouts start noticing you. Manny Pimentel, by the way, is the director of scouting in the DR. And then as they notice you, you start going to these tournaments, and then they draft you whenever you're 16. And then whenever they draft you, that's whenever you go to the Dominican Summer League. And then all the scouts can notice you from there. So the way it works is you have area scouts that work different areas of, and this works whether you're in the United States or internationally. You have area scouts that find these players, and then they take them to their scouting supervisors, like Manny Pimentel is for the Dodgers. The scouting supervisor is the one that signs off on them. At that point, the organization like the Dodgers sign them, and then that's when they go to the DSL. And usually it takes a year, maybe 2. Of course, you got to remember guys like Eddie's Leonard, Yorbit Vivas, they were signed when they were 16 years old. So there's absolutely no hurry of getting them stateside. Jesus Calise, I believe, made it when he was 20 years old, something like that, right after 2020. So imagine being an international player, and here you are, you're from maybe Cartagena, Colombia, or you're from Venezuela, or anywhere in the DR, and all of a sudden you get the call from Manny Pimentel that you're going stateside. You're finally going to get to play in the United States. I can tell you that Manny said it point blank in that interview. That is the goal of almost every young boy that grows up in especially the DR and Venezuela. Hey, they want to become a Major League Baseball player. So when a guy like Jesus Calise, a catcher that was with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes last year, Tyrone Lorenzo, had a chance to talk to him. When they get that call and they're told they're going to play in the United States, that is a dream come true for them. So what happens to them then? Then they go up to what's called the Complex League. So at the Complex, here's what happens. So like for the first 3 months or so of the season, it's more so just an extended spring training. You go out, you do drills, you throw bullpens, you have live BPs, you take ground balls, you do all the things that you would expect to see from spring training. You have a bunch of different instructors that can work with all these young kids. So what you're going to have at the Complex is a mix of international players who just made it stateside, a lot of times the newly drafted players out of the United States draft that we see every year in July, and then also maybe some guys that are rehabbing. So you're going to see some major league guys that have experience at the Complex that are rehabbing and just trying to, because the facilities are all there in one spot. So it's going to be a neat mix as far as all the guys that are working out. And then the second half of the season in the Complex, they actually play games just like they do with any other affiliate. So it's just like everywhere else. You play probably 50, 60 games, something like that. And so the first half is instructs, then the second half is playing games. So that's the Complex. And so a lot of times, like when Kendall George got drafted last year, the guys that are either international or out of high school, most of the time they start at the Complex. Kenny George started at the Complex last year, the Dodgers' #1 prospect. He did so well. Of course, that draft happened while you got to remember the games of the second half. So when the draft happens, the games have already started. That's the interesting part of it. So Kenny George got into the Complex League games, did so well, they're like, hey, we can't leave this guy here. He's too good. So then they had to send him, or not had to, they decided to send him to Rancho Cucamonga. So the levels are, you have the Complex League, then you have single A Rancho Cucamonga, and then you have high A, so you have 2 A levels, a single A, which is the lower level of A ball, in Rancho Cucamonga, which is a suburb of LA. Then in Midland, Michigan, you have the high A Great Lakes, which is the high A level. So they go from the Complex to Rancho to Midland, Michigan, which is the Great Lakes Loons. So Great Lakes isn't actually a town. That's just what they call it. It's actually in Midland, Michigan. Then from there, they go to AA Tulsa, which is in Oklahoma. And from AA Tulsa, just 90 miles down the road, a little bit west, a little bit south down the Turner Turnpike, they go to AAA Oklahoma City. That's one of the big reasons why in 2015 the Dodgers decided to have their AA and AAAs in Oklahoma. A lot of people ask that question. Well, because in 2011, the city of Tulsa built One Oak Field, and it is absolutely don't ask me. I mean, don't trust me. Ask anybody. One Oak Field with all their party porches and their hill and right center. It is probably the nicest AA facility in all of the game of baseball. And so what's really cool about it, like a Deck McGuire, Ramon Troncoso, who is a coach at the single A level in Rancho Cucamonga, on the same day, they can call a guy up. This has happened on Sundays before. Like Tulsa plays at 1 o'clock, Oklahoma City plays at 6. So a guy like Deck McGuire, there was a doubleheader, and they called Tulsa and they said, hey, tell Deck to get in his car, drive to Oklahoma City. Deck actually pitched in a game for Tulsa, got in his car, drove to Oklahoma City, then pitched in a game that night for Oklahoma City. So the appeal to the Dodgers was the fact that their AA and AAA facilities are just 90 miles apart, and Tulsa just built a state-of-the-art, beautiful stadium in 2011. And Oklahoma City, back in 1998, opened up Bricktown Ballpark, which if you've ever been there, the Bricktown Ballpark was made in the 90s. If you remember the Orioles Park, the Camden Yards there, They made those parks in the 90s like Jacobs Field in Cleveland. They made them patterned after like the old Ebbets Field for the Dodgers, where they have that old-time feel to them. So when you walk into the Bricktown Ballpark, of course, initially I was there the night they opened it up in 1998. It's seated over 14,000. I've been to probably 25 games, mostly Oklahoma State versus OU games, where it's completely packed. I have seen OSU and OU put close to 50,000 people in those stands over a weekend. On the weekends, Oklahoma City can get up to 10,000, 11,000 people in their stands. Tulsa will get anywhere from 7,500 to 8,000. So on the weekend in the state of Oklahoma in the middle of the summer, you can get close to 20,000 people watching Dodgers baseball at the AAA and AA level. So that's how it works. Again, you start in the complex. So like for the guys like Dalton Rushing, let's say that you're a college player and you get drafted, a guy like Jake Geloff last year. Most of those college, the guys that are drafted out of college, they go straight to Rancho. See, in the past, now here's a name that all Dodgers fans love, Tommy Lasorda. He loved going to Ogden, Utah. If you're a big Dodgers fan, you probably heard this story about how Tommy Lasorda loved Ogden, Utah. Well, why is that? Well, forever, Ogden, Utah was the rookie league team. So they actually, in 2020, they constricted everything. And a lot of teams, like Fresno, went from being a AAA team all the way down to being a single A team in the California League, just like the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. And that happened when they reshuffled all the minor leagues. Several cities lost teams. And so in that shuffle, a lot of teams lost what was the Pioneer League, which was the rookie league. So a lot of the guys like Andy Pajes, a buddy of mine, John Littell, who went to OSU, a lot of the guys that are still in the system right now, Brandon Lewis, they all played in 2019 on that rookie ball team in Ogden, Utah. Austin Chubb was the manager of that. That was the last year for that rookie league team. So there is no more rookie league. So when you get drafted, you either go to the complex or you go straight to Rancho. Most of the upper level college guys like Jake Geloff, Joe Vitrano, Dalton Rushing, guys like that, Patrick Copen, they just bypass the complex and go straight to Rancho, and they go from there. So it's really cool. About 3/4 of the way through the year, here you are grinding, you're tired, you have this roster, and then all of a sudden at Rancho, you get this influx of new guys that were just drafted out of college, and they bring a serious element of excitement that is really needed during what they call the dog days of summer. I know this got kind of long, but I wanted to explain exactly how the Dodgers minor league system works. Again, let me explain it again. You have the International League, which all of them are in the Dominican Republic. Then you have the Complex League, which is at the spring training complex in Arizona. Then you have what are called the affiliates. So the complex isn't considered an affiliate. The affiliates are starting with Rancho in single A, Rancho Cucamonga. Then at high A, you have Great Lakes. Then at double A, you have Tulsa. Then at triple A, you have Oklahoma City.